Joe, what happened? You don't recognize me?
You're funny.
Okay, because I was just trying to figure out the way you look at me is like you don't know it's me. I was having some technical issue. I don't know if it's my hair, but I was having some technical issues getting on. So thank you for joining me. And we await the attorney, your co-host for tonight. Gotta make sure that attorney Hugh Campbell knows that we're here. Okay, so I guess we're live and we're here tonight, and the Honorable Joe is in the studio, and we're just waiting for Attorney Hugh Campbell to come on board. Daniel Silver, how are you doing? So happy belated Thanksgiving to you, and haven't seen you in a while. Roman Rosa, how are you? You inspire me with your write-up that you put on Facebook the other day. Thank you for such a lovely write-up. I got to talk to you more about that, but it was very inspiring. So, Joe, are you ready for tonight's show? Because
Yep.
the attorney is going to be in shortly and want you to be ready for his question and answers. Okay. And okay, that's me. That's me. That got to go. Mhm. Thank you so much for that plug. So feel free to share the show, Joe. And let me see if I can remind you, Campbell, that we're in the house and just waiting patiently for him to log on. Where is my leftover meal? There was too much. I would not give you leftover. I will definitely cook for you, as I'm a good chef. Don't let them fool you about my breakfast that I eat every day, but dinner, I can fix you a good dinner. So we're waiting on Attorney Hugh Campbell to come on so we can get this show up and to hear from the expert like Joe himself what's going on out here. And we're going to talk tonight about the community. We're here to talk about the guns, the shooting, the senseless, I must say, shooting. You're welcome, Roman. Senseless shooting, senseless killing, even for the officers. And we have the attorney joining us because some people are saying the mayor need to do this, the mayor need to do that. So we have to find out who's supposed to do what. And we're going to talk about some of the issues we have in politics, in the community. We have a lot to talk about tonight. So let's see how we're going to get through this, but we're going to get through this night. And for you out there, feel free to share the show. You share everything else. So let's see what you share and what you don't share. Please share the show. The Avril show is here, and we're just waiting an attorney, Hugh Campbell, to join us. Let me see if I can. Doesn't have a video track, okay. I don't know what it means, but good evening, Problem Phipps. Good evening to you. The attorney's in the building. I guess we have to welcome. Good evening, Attorney Hugh Campbell. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
Good
Yes,
evening, sir.
How are we doing today?
All right.
we're doing good. We was just waiting for you
Oh, okay.
to get here so that we can hear from the experts. Because I mean, I'm not an expert, I guess, when it comes to Joe, then I'm going to leave it up to Joe. And tonight we're going to go into. Joe get on the show as if tonight he wasn't aware who I was, so I had to let him know it's me.
Yes.
Hmm.
Mr. Joe, I hear you're in charge, so.
No, never that, never that, never that.
Yes.
Woman is always boss.
Okay.
Okay, so tonight we are back and we had part one. And I guess attorney Hugh Campbell is here tonight with us, and I guess Joe wasn't too pleased of what's going on, and he's telling us who need to speak to who, and the guns and the issues that we have. We need to talk about it tonight because I think some people do not really understand who is behind the gun laws, who to blame and who not to blame, because some people blaming the mayor, some people blaming the politicians. Joe is blaming, Joe is all over. So I want to hear from you, Attorney Hugh Campbell. Tonight we're going to talk about not just the guns, not just the killings of us, killings of officers. So many killings that is happening on senseless killing, and we want to know what's the remedy for this, because everybody have a solution, but I really want to hear, is there a solution to this and where does it start? So I will let you open the floor since you missed out last time and Joe had a lot to say while you was looking on the outside. Now you're here tonight. I want to hear some of your solution, because for me, I'm very lost with every time someone get killed. We cry out for the few minutes, but there is no solution to what's going on. Joe, make sure you get your drinks tonight while we're alive.
Well, I think Joe raised the point that only that, whoever pulled the trigger is the one who is responsible for, the gun violence. And I would partially agree with Joe to a certain extent, but I think it's a much bigger issue than just the person that pulls the trigger, because I think that, when you look at the crime in the neighborhood, there are a lot of different factors involved. There are factors involved in terms of, the consequences of when you pull the trigger and when you shoot someone, the consequences might not be severe enough. But I think we have to really get to the root of it. And I think, I don't know if there are any gun manufacturers in New York State, let alone New York City, but we see the amount of guns in New York State and New York City. So that's why when I spoke to you, I said we need some kind of federal legislation that would stem the transport and sale of guns across state line. Because once you control the flow of, certain merchandise, then that too would stem the, the sale in the local communities. And I think that's one of the issues that we have, because we don't manufacture guns. We don't, I don't know of any place in New York City or state that they manufacture guns. So how is it there's so many guns in the neighborhood? I don't know of any manufacturer in the Bronx, mind you. So how do we have so many guns on the street and the guns in New York City, New York State? So I think we need federal legislation to stop the sale of guns across state line. That's number one. Number two, and I think I had alluded to it in one of, just when I did when Joe was talking to the other time. And one of the things that we really need, Joe, and I think I would probably also look at it from another standpoint, is that we need legislation, because the federal government basically in their gun law, they established immunity for gun manufacturers and gun dealers. And when you basically say that nobody can sue you or hold you responsible for a reckless use and operation of a gun, then that also creates a problem. Because if you drive a car, you hit somebody negligently, then you're responsible. If you if you have a gun and you carelessly let it get out of your hands into the wrong person's hand and that person kills somebody, then you're liable. Because there's a thing, for example, in automobile, for example, they call it negligent entrustment, which means that if a parent negligently entrusts their vehicle or any other instrumentality into their children's hands and the children use it negligently, the parent can be held responsible. So if someone owns a gun and you don't safekeep it, and it gets into the wrong hand, then you should be held financially liable for that. And I think that doesn't affect the legal gun owner like Joe. Because if the gun owner like Joe is going to make sure it's locked, it is safe, and it doesn't get into the wrong hand. But it's the individuals who are now selling that gun for profit and are making a profit off of it. They should be held liable if indeed that gun is used for the wrong thing. And if, you know, and it goes back to one of the things, and I think, Joe, you're kind of old enough. I don't know if Avril is, but I know you're old enough for it.
Go ahead.
There was a time when every car, where was the gas tank located?
In the back.
Behind the license plate.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And whenever you hit that person in the back, what would happen?
Car would explode.
That car would explode and the person would probably die. And it was not until they started suing the manufacturer to hold them financially liable did they decide to change the gas tank to the side so as to prevent death. So my question to you, Joe, is that if you implemented similar laws that holds the manufacturer and the distributor liable, because if you manufacture a gun, you can use technology to make it safer. If you distribute it, you can use certain technology to make sure you distribute it to the right person. So why can't you hold them legally responsible, financially responsible? Because what I find is that when you start going to the pocketbook, that's when people start listening. That's when people start paying attention. But as long as there's no financial consequence, they'll do as they see fit because they're making profit. And unfortunately, the manufacturer and the distributor are making a profit off black folks killing black folks, brown folks killing brown folks. And where do we draw the line and where do we stop?
Okay, let me respond to that. First of all, states don't have any borders, so guns go from state to state. The federal have gun laws, which 23 states I think that follow the federal gun laws. New York State, New York City have the toughest gun law. They're not a part of the federal gun law. But yet New York State have a higher crime rate where gun is concerned. Okay? My thing is this, right? New York State are imposing tough gun laws on legal gun holders, not the illegal gun holders. Most crimes are committed by illegal guns and illegal gun holders. Those are not the people the politicians are targeting. New York State just passed a law, I think it was last year, Safe Act 2. They had Safe Act 1 and said, whoa, we have a another tough gun law. But the tough gun law is geared at the guy with the legal gun. The legal gun does not cause as much damage as the illegal gun. So it's time to go after the illegal gun holders and illegal gun users. No, because you keep targeting legal gun holders, you understand? And then the crime rate is still going up. So once you say hit companies in the pocket, you got to hit these illegal gun users with stiff penalty. In the past 30 years, there's only one law geared towards illegal gun holder. One. That's a 5-year mandatory sentence versus a 1-year mandatory sentence. Okay. Every other law passed was geared towards the legal gun holder and not the criminal.
But what I'm saying, Joe, is that I am trying to see legislation that stops the crime before a person uses an illegal gun.
Make sure Joe is hearing us. Make sure Joe is hearing us because it seemed like his eyes someplace else. Marlene is probably a game on or something. Yes, Marlene.
I don't want
Joe, we're here.
I don't want for somebody to get shot and killed or shot and seriously injured before we implement a gun law. What I'm saying is that we need to stem the flow before it happens, because for you to put somebody in jail and really expend the greatest consequences, that person must have already committed a crime, and that crime probably would have disabled somebody or took somebody's loved one. So what I'm saying is that before we get to that point, and I'm focusing primarily on the federal, because I said if you can't cross state line, then you're basically cutting the flow. You know, if let's say, for example, if you notice now that everybody's saying that the supply chain is blocked because there's nothing to go around for people to buy, just imagine if the gun supply chain was blocked and there was no guns out there for people to buy. That's what we want. We want the supply chain for guns to be significantly limited. And the only way you can limit it is to impose legislation that will limit the flow of guns across state line. And if indeed somebody, sells a gun across state line, and that gun, let's use what's that guy, Rittenhouse, for example. They said when he bought the gun, that gun should not have been sold because the person who bought it was because he was underage. He could not have bought that gun because it was underage, but it was sold to somebody else who bought it, in his stead. And you read a lot about people who bought guns who were not, who the background check or whatever check was not complete, and they were still able to buy the guns. Now, if you were imposing liability on those folks that were selling and distributing, they would be a little bit more careful, and they would make sure that the guns only get into legal gun holders like Joe, as opposed to someone who's going to commit a crime.
Well, let me ask a question. Yadira just says, right? The question is how the guns get in the hands of the people who have illegal guns. It can be traced to the manufacturer because the guns are obtained in states where it's easy to obtain guns, and they're brought here and sold in the underground market. So
Right.
if it can be traced, right?
Okay, Avril, that's the real issue right now. The states that sell these guns easy does not have the crime. The states where those sell the guns easy has. For example, Texas, Georgia, all those states that are under the federal gun law, even Connecticut, right? They don't have the kind of crime rate by guns that the states that's not under the federal government. So therefore, tougher gun laws need to be imposed on the criminal instead of targeting the legal gun holder. For example, New York State passed a law saying a legal gun holder cannot carry more than 7 bullets. You understand? That's gearing it towards the legal gun holder, while the illegal gun holder can carry his 17 bullets. So when the guy come for you now, when they come to stick up a store, you're giving
them too much information here how to come.
No, they know.
They know, but Joe,
they know.
The problem that we are talking about tonight is how can we with solution.
But
we're talking solution.
But Joe, if indeed they pass the legislation that I proposed, you wouldn't get to the 17 versus 7 because it wouldn't pass the state line to begin with, and because there would be consequences of crossing the state line.
Again, let's go to the states that have the federal gun law, okay, the federal law. Okay.
No, but Joe, there is no federal law. There is no federal law that prohibits the sale of gun across state line.
No, I understand that, but I'm trying to show you that the states that where all these guns are easy to obtain don't have the crime that we have. Why? Because the politicians focus on the legal gun holders versus the illegal. I'm saying to the politicians, leave the legal gun holders alone and focus on the illegals. For example, there was a federal law that said if you get caught with a gun, it was illegal gun, it was 10 years in jail the first time. The second offense was 25 years. Trump reversed that because they said that was double dipping. So Trump reversed that. But in order for you to get that, you have to be caught by a federal agent. You have to have a federal case, not a state case. If you have a state case, you're going to go by the state laws. You understand? No, a 20-year-old get caught with an illegal in New York State, he get a mandatory 5-year sentence, 3.5 years, he's out. Okay, he's only 23. He comes out again, another charge again, another 5 years, he's out again before he's 30. You understand? So these guys know what time they're going to do. But if they know they're going to do a 10 years for the first offense, a 25 for the second, and then you hit them with 1 year per bullet, you understand? They will get the message. The gun's not going to come to New York City. You understand? They're going to leave the guns alone. We focus too much on these manufacturers versus the users. Let's just attack the users. All I'm saying is this: every time they go to the table, they attack the legal gun holders. Every time they go to the table. But for the last 30 years, they only attack the criminal. One time.
But Joe, I have yet to see where you hold the manufacturers responsible. And I will give you a classic example. If you look at the Sandy Hook case in Connecticut, where they went in and shot up that school, they're in court now fighting because they want to hold the manufacturers and the distributors liable. But again, because of federal legislation, they can't hold them liable. So my question is that move the federal legislation out of the way so that if indeed you want to go in, and if a jury of your peers from your community wants to hold the gun manufacturers and the distributor liable, then they should be able to do that. Because if you're in your community and you said, you know what, I don't want too many guns in my community, and you start basically holding them responsible, you'll be surprised to see how fast they stop, shipping those guns into your neighborhood.
Okay, now we're talking about.
So how could we start? Even let's, for example, right here in New York City, where the crime is on the rise, and everybody's talking about the crime. Joe, not the game that you're watching. We're talking about the crime.
No.
Where does it start in our community?
Let me kind of address that. I'm gonna show you something now. What he was talking about is assault rifle. Okay, assault rifle is another story. You understand? Those crimes that he's talking about was committed by assault rifle. Most gun violence are committed by handguns in New York State, New York City, by handguns. Okay, so the assault rifle, we're gonna leave it alone because it's a very small percentage of cases with assault rifle. Very, very small compared to the handgun.
No. I'm talking about regular guns, Joe, because what I'm saying is that they basically, what I have read thus far, there's technology that can basically fingerprint and things of that nature that can prevent the unlawful use of firearms. So if indeed you have that kind of technology, why not force the manufacturers and the distributors to utilize those technologies? So once Joe buys a gun, even if somebody breaks into Joe's shop or house and steals that gun, that person could not use it because the technology would prevent them from using it.
I'm gonna give you an example. They force the manufacturers to put a blocker on the clip that comes to New York State. Every gun sold in New York State, every clip sold in New York State have a blocker on it, can only hold 10 bullets. Okay? So yes, they went after the manufacturers, 10 bullets. So again, the legal gun holders get punished right there. You can, they were thinking about 4 years ago. Up to 4 years ago, you could carry 10 bullets. Now a legal gun holder can only carry 7. So that's my point where I say they keep attacking the legal gun holders versus the illegal.
Okay, so why don't you just say the manufacturer across the board shouldn't be able to make more than 7, as opposed to one with 14 and one with 7?
But like I said,
Joe,
there are states that allow you to buy with more than 10, 17 shooter, 19 shooter, right?
Yeah, but you shouldn't manufacture anything that can hold more than 7. Leave it at that.
Again,
okay.
Those states don't have the crime that we have.
Joe, we keep talking about how much bullets, the guns coming in and all that. Where is the solution? Where do we start? Because if they make a gun with less than 7 bullets, they're still shooting.
Yes.
If they make a gun with 3 bullets, they're still shooting.
The
solution is where do we start in our backyard?
Punish.
And who? Attorney Hugh Campbell, let's go deeper than that. Everybody's saying the mayor need to do this, the governor need to do this. Where do we start as a people? The Avril show. Who do we get on this show to sit with us to answer the questions? Because every time somebody's arrested, they say the DA. They're always ready to say the DA. Nobody understands the DA's role, the courtroom role. A lot of times when it's time for election, nobody wants to vote for judges. They don't even remember that exists until we end up in the courtroom. Who do we talk to? Because everybody's out there saying they're protesting and they're demonstrating, but who is listening to them?
Well, I think there's really, it's a very complicated solution because I don't think it lies primarily on the city government, state government. I think it's a joint responsibility between city, state, and federal. Because my position is very simple. Avril, if you get shot in Jersey, Connecticut, or New York, to me, that's a loss of a life. And we all should be concerned about that loss of a life, whether or not it's Connecticut, New York, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, wherever it may be. So I think what we need is a universal approach across the country, across the board, to get sensible legislation in place that covers every state. Every state should be bound by the same piece of legislation. And like I said, if you take the profit out of it, because look, if I can make if I can make all of these extra guns to sell to people who are not who will never qualify to own a gun because of different issues, and only sell to licensed people, then my profit may go down. But if I can just flood the market, knowing that it's going to get in the hands of the wrong people, then I don't care. I'm just going to flood the market and make my profit. So you got to take the profit out of it and hold these people liable if indeed someone gets a hold of that gun and engage in some conduct that creates harm to our citizens.
Who are we holding accountable? Because I mean, okay, you listen. A young man gets shot, a child gets shot, a child gets shot, a child gets shot, and we go out and we stand on the street, a few people, and they say, "Oh, put down the guns." Who are they talking to? Who should they be talking to? That's the
Well,
question that I'm trying to get an answer for. Who should they be talking to? Because I really don't know who are they talking to when I drive by and I see News 12 4 minutes say, yeah, we tired of the guns. Who are they talking to? Where can the change come from? Are we just wasting our time talking about guns control and guns control? Because as someone say, we will never get rid of guns.
Avril,
But if we stiffen the penalty, if there's a stiffer penalty, can something be done?
yes.
Sandra Parbun said the gangs, but the
Listen.
gangs are to be blamed all the time. But I don't know. Are you doing why young? Who are we blaming? I mean, where is the blame? The blame doing anything for the young people that is just. I see some shooting that make me afraid to watch the news. Not afraid to walk the street, but afraid to watch the news. Because when you see these young men on the street shooting, it's like a John Wayne movie. And they don't care if you have children in a stroller. Some of these things I'm seeing, it's real. So you're trying to tell me that nobody see these things that say we got to do something about this?
But Avril, listen.
Who passed these laws?
No, you ask the question, who are we talking to?
Yeah, who are we talking
Put the
to?
guns down. You're talking to the criminals. The criminals go out of their way to get their guns. They go out of their way. What I'm saying is this. Those are the guys that you have to target. You understand? If you have stiff laws, they would think twice before they go and get an illegal gun. And I'm saying the same way you want to punish a legal gun holder for having 8 bullets is the same way you should punish an illegal gun holder for having 1 bullet. I'm saying 1 bullet per year plus 10 years for the gun, first offense, and 25 years, second offense for the gun. That will make a big difference.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
okay, why young said people who selling and getting the guns to be blamed. Those are who you blame.
No, I blame
Because,
the criminal.
okay, as Attorney Hugh Campbell say, you have a car, you have a gun, and you don't put it in a safe place. Who do you blame? The person that pick up the gun or the person that leave the gun where it was easy to get Joe? Who do you blame there?
You see, that's the key. The person who leave the gun. Okay? First of all, every gun holder is responsible for their guns. Every gun holder. The gun have a serial number and attached to the gun holder. They are responsible for their guns. Okay? That's number one. Now, number two, a lot of these guys go and they become residents of that particular state. And you can buy as much guns as you want and bring them back to, let's say, New York City, Chicago, and the whole night. You understand? So a lot of them buy the guns legal, but once it cross state line, it becomes illegal. That's what I'm saying. You focus on the guy who's using the gun, the criminal. Focus on the criminal, not the gun manufacturer. Because if somebody's going to be a criminal, they don't have a gun. They're going to use a knife, a baseball bat, something, and kill somebody else.
But that's what
You
the USA, stiffer laws have not shown to deter crime.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Avril. Yes, it does.
Attorney?
Well, I think my disagreement with Joe is because I said I understand everything about the penalty, but before you can impose a penalty, someone is harmed, someone is killed, someone is maimed, and I'm trying to avoid that because we shouldn't wait until somebody gets shot and you say that person gets life imprisonment. Yeah, I agree. If you commit the crime, you should go to jail. But how do we make sure that that child or that family is not killed before we impose that sentence? And I'm saying if we cut down, if we have federal legislation, federal legislation, because you said a person goes to a state and they can buy the gun legally. Now, if you have federal database, federal legislation, everything is federally controlled, then it'll be very hard for that person to go to another state, even if they become a resident, and buy something that they couldn't buy in New York State, because again, it's one rule across the line. So we need a universal rule, regulation that governs every gun distribution, gun sale, irrespective of where it is. But as long as we have every state making up their own law, it becomes very difficult to monitor and control the flow of illegal guns.
So why not just focus on the penalty, on the punishment?
Because when you get to the punishment, that's after somebody's been killed.
But Attorney Hugh Campbell, every day somebody has been killed.
Yes, but I'm saying, how do you avoid it? Because if the person doesn't have a gun, then that person will not be killed. That person will not be killed if you don't have.
They already have the guns. We know.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm saying if you have a constant flow, it's only going to multiply. If you start cutting everything off, then you will see that, because I think there's enough, guns out there that we have. But if you stop the flow, and then you start taking them off the street, then you will see a significant decrease in the illegal guns that are on the street.
Let me just say,
not to be one of the punishment. Why can't we lock up these people in boxes and no food for 1 year till they die? No. Why young? They will give you a quicker lawsuit for that.
Yeah. Let me address something, from left field. If somebody straight hits somebody, if you box somebody that's gay, okay, you actually get more time in jail than carrying a gun. What happened? The assault on gays have gone down since they imposed those laws. The assault on gays. Nobody out there trying to hit nobody because they're gay anymore. Because you get more time than carrying a gun. So I'm saying, if you impose stiffer sentence for illegal gun holders, trust me, the crime rate will drop.
I think it's so, Joe, but I don't just do that sentence because anybody goes to jail, whether or not it's a night, whether or not it's a week, whether or not it's 10 years.
We're losing you. Attorney Hugh Campbell, we're losing you. Are you back?
I'm here.
Okay.
No, I said whether or not it's a day, 10 years, or whatever the case might be, jail is jail.
But then, as the last show, we had Kevin here with us, right? Graham. And he says something to the fact that when you're going to serve 3 years in prison, you're out in no time. Because by the time the hearing comes and you sit back there, 1 year already gone. So if you're talking about sending somebody who killed somebody, every time you hear an arrest for a murder, look at the gentleman that walked and shot the 13 or 15-year-old the other day in his neck, right? The child survived. You know the first thing they tell us? He's a career criminal. Why are they on the street?
Mm-hmm.
No,
why are they on the street? Even the police are frustrated of arresting the same people over and over. So isn't there something missing? That if the president of the United States, if all these politicians seeing and saying they're fed up and nothing getting done, we're wasting our time talking. Nothing going to be done. There is something behind this that even the very president of the United States is tired of guns. And we are saying we need to do something about it. Something is wrong.
Well, in a selfish manner, Avril, I would much prefer, and I know Joe disagrees with me, I would much prefer for the gun distributor and the gun manufacturer to lose a little bit of profit than for me, the taxpayer, to pay more money to put someone in and keep someone in jail for life. Because when you put and keep someone in jail for life, it's people like me and you the taxpayers that pay for that person. Whereas if you implement the law that shifts the burden to the manufacturer and the distributor, it is their money. But what they do is that they find a way to basically separate black and brown people from their money, no matter how you cut it. And I'm like, we have to cut that out and start impose the penalty where the penalty needs to be. Joe got a lot of money. He can afford to pay to keep somebody in jail. I don't want to pay to keep somebody in jail. Let the manufacturer, the people who profit from it, pay for that, not me and you.
Then where are they? Who are they? Joe, where are the states? Where are the states that have these manufacturers?
Well, the states they're all over.
Okay. So where does it start?
No, my thing is this. My thing is this. If a criminal cannot get hold of a gun, you're gonna hurt somebody. You're gonna hurt them with something else.
That's fine.
You're gonna hurt them with something. So one thing is, I believe in dealing with that particular criminal than deal with the manufacturer. Deal with the criminal, because there are guys who don't even use guns that hurt people over and over and over and over and over.
But
you understand?
I think, Joe, this is such a big problem. We need to look at all the possible solutions. And this is a twofold solution. And I will agree and say I'm willing to take your approach. But in the same token, we got to look at the other approach. Whichever approach works is going to be an approach that's beneficial for everybody. Because if you take the financial profit out of it, then people have a tendency to start finding solutions. And as I tell you, I said, from where we sit right now, I mean, everybody, you look around, everybody make safer products now because nobody wants to be sued. And I think if they had the possibility of being sued and held financially liable, then they will think differently when they manufacture and distribute these weapons.
No, listen, I don't agree that. Now, a gun, there's nothing safe about a gun. That's number one. Okay, when you make a car, there are certain features on a car where you're gonna have certain safety features on an automobile. So you could go on and redesign an automobile to be safer. Okay, nothing safe about a gun. You understand? A gun spit out bullets that will kill somebody. You understand? So therefore, I'm all for that guy who pulled that trigger. You deal with that guy severely. Deal with him severely.
The punishment.
You
Because what Joe is saying, right, Attorney Hugh Campbell, what Joe is saying, if you can't deal with the manufacturers, then why not deal with the people that pull the triggers?
I'm saying deal with both of them. I am saying deal with both of them equally and let both of them be responsible, because once you start shifting responsibility, then everybody starts pointing the finger at the other person. But if you go in and say, you know what, I'm going to hold you liable and I'm going to hold you liable, then I think what you get is that everybody will start looking. But as long as the manufacturers can shield themselves from liability, because my question is that why did Congress find it necessary to shield the manufacturers? Why did they find it necessary to shield the manufacturers? Because again, they have big lobbyists. They have the NRA. They have all these other organizations that support them. And I'm saying is that, you know, when it comes down, how many folks of color own gun manufacturing companies and gun distribution company? Not many. So, but who are the ones that's getting killed and harmed by these weapons? It's us.
So everybody's saying the lobbyists and the governor and all that. So how is it that I don't see the people from the top come together with the governors and show us that they're doing something about it? Who are these people who we're saying needs to do it? How come we don't see them doing it? Isn't it telling you that there is something that they can't do?
Because unfortunately, little people do not have lobbyists. Everyday people don't have lobbyists. The big manufacturers, they have lobbyists who basically lobby on behalf of all of these big companies and these manufacturers. And what that's why we have the 1% and the 99%. Because as long as you have powerful entities that work on behalf of a certain segment of society, you're always going to have the 1% and the 99%. So the question becomes, when do we start waking up and say, you know what, we are going to try to balance the 99 versus 1. We'll never get there, but at least we need to push and try. Because if the legislators, if they get up, you know, and it always goes down to politics, because if you don't have the majority in the Senate, and if you don't have the majority in Congress, then in essence, what's going to happen is that you're always going to run into that problem. That's why elections have consequences, Because if you don't vote for the right representatives, what will basically happen is that we'll never get things through. So we need to make sure we vote for the right representatives. And also we have to make sure that when folks don't vote the way they should vote in the interest of the people, you got to hold them accountable, which we don't do enough.
We're wasting our time talking about guns control then.
No.
It comes to me like we're wasting our time talking about guns control.
Avril,
It's not going to happen.
Avril, we have elected officials who are black.
Mm-hmm.
We have elected officials who can change laws. They do change laws. For example, our good friend Jamal Bailey, he was at the forefront of the Safe
Senator Jamal Bailey.
Yes, Senator Jamal Bailey. He was at the forefront of the Safe Act 2 signing. He was right there up front, the Safe Act 2. Who the Safe Act 2, went after? The legal gun holders. So why can't our politicians that we put there do something about the criminals and the illegal guns the criminal carry? All I'm saying to the politicians, yes, they are changing laws, but it's not towards the criminal. It's the guy who don't even commit the crime. It's the guy who's trying to protect himself. The politicians went and make the laws that say a legal gun holder can only carry 7 bullets to hold off a criminal with 17 bullets. The liquor store get robbed a few years ago. 4 gunmen, 4 men, 4 guns. How is this one owner going to hold out 4 gunmen, 4 guns with 7 bullets? That's what they're not thinking.
So that's why it comes down to what everybody is saying, Joe. Stiffer punishment.
Yes. For the users and the criminals.
But Joe, just think about the fact that there was legislation that prohibited the sale of those guns across state line. You wouldn't have 4 individuals with 4 guns.
No, listen to me. They're going to get them still.
No, they will not, Joe, because not if there's a price on it. You see, and I think one of the comedians, I don't remember which one it is. I think it was Chris Rock that said, if you want to stop crime, you raise the price of bullets. I think it was Chris Rock who jokingly said that if you want to stop crime, you put a premium on the price of bullets so people can buy them. So I think what we have to do, Joe, you got to take the financial, incentive out of some of it. You can't have, because we have been trying all of this stuff all of these years and putting people in jail. And you see where it's gotten us? It's only gotten worse.
Can I say something to you?
It's only gotten worse.
Can I say something to you? The price of bullets went up. The amount of bullets you can buy, it's limited now. Okay? So tell Chris Rock he's wrong. Okay? The price of bullets is sky high. And you can only buy 1 box. You understand? You cannot buy no quantity of bullets like you used to anymore.
But that's on the legal market. But what I'm saying is that, is there an illegal market where people are still selling this stuff, making the profit, but don't have to declare it because nobody's paying attention to it? But what about if everybody had to account for everything that was sold? And if you can basically, follow the gun and the bullets with all the registration and everything and link it to somebody, and you hold that person liable, you will be surprised as to how fast they would stop selling it and how fast they would stop distributing it. And you would only get the legal ones across state line.
If that is so, right, Attorney Hugh Campbell, where is the forum to come together to put these things together with the people who can do it, who can make a difference, so we can see something getting done? Instead of just every time a child gets shot, somebody standing up in their neighborhood saying, we're sick and tired. Are those people doing anything that can help to make a difference? Who are they talking to? That is my question that I'm here tonight to talk about. Who are we speaking to and who's listening?
Well, the question becomes, what's our priority? And if indeed we find out we have to reach out to our congressperson, we have to reach out to our state senate, our federal senators, because you see, if we focus on the state level, we have to. I'm saying that we probably need some federal legislation, which would have to be done through the Senate and Congress. So I think we need to reach out to those individuals, and I think we've got to let them understand this is a matter of priority. And if it's a matter of priority, then we start listening. But if if we only make noise and don't let them understand that we're serious, then it becomes a problem.
But Senator Jamal Bailey is senator.
Yeah, but he's on a state level.
He's on
I'm
a state
saying we got
level.
to look on the federal level because, you know, what we're saying, state legislation is one thing, but you need federal legislation.
So how do we go there? How do we go there?
That's where the, you know, the we have Senator Gillibrand, we have Senator Schumer. Those are the two senators from New York. We have an enormous amount of Congress people from New York. So the question becomes, how do we basically reach out to our local officials and say, you know what, we've got a major problem and we need to go to our U.S. senators and congressperson. We need to have a sit down to discuss these issues.
You think a person like Joe Schumer is going to make an appointment to listen to Joe?
No, well,
we see Schumer on Juneteenth. It's rare you're going to see Schumer in the Bronx again.
Yeah, but
where do they come to listen to us?
But
why no one getting together to say we need to have a forum? We need to do something. We do everything else, but why are we not bringing that to the table?
Because you see, Avril, we need and I look around the community and everybody's having different forums for gun violence, how to prevent it, how to do this, how to do that. And what I'm saying is that everything that we've tried thus far is really not working. It's not having an impact. So we've got to look outside the box. We've got to look outside the box because if you try the same thing over and over and over and it's failing, then you've got to look at an alternative. So what's the alternative? And I will venture to say that what I'm saying is something that you probably would get a tremendous amount of support from across the state, because if there are different organizations that's been pushing for this piece of legislation for the longest to hold them responsible. Well, but you see a lot of these different groups out there, they need some community-based organizations to really get in their corner and to say, you know what, we're going to do the lifting on the community level.
Attorney Hugh Campbell, they go in front of Black Lives Matters, going for the governor's house, governor's mansion, the governor's what, the mayor's this, the mayor's that. Why are we just sitting down and talking? It starts here. As Judge Taylor say, hold them accountable. If Schumer can come to Juneteenth, Schumer can come and listen to what we're talking about. And if we can't get that happen, then I would say going to the polls, we have to start doing things different. We have to send a message that we are fed up. Because I am to the point of tired of hearing vote. But then when we're speaking, who is listening? That's the question I'm asking. Who is listening? Because all of us, until it hit home, that's when we listen. So you're trying to tell me that none of us who are talking, and some of us who are senators and this, I saw one politician here in the Bronx where guns went through his window. And I was wondering, all of a sudden that happened, it was news, and then it was over. Something is wrong. That our politicians are sitting down and telling me that we can't come to the table and get Schumer and these people who represent us to listen to us. It starts
but you see, and I think one of the things we have to be very realistic about also, you can get Schumer to the table, but this is something that they got to go back and sell their colleagues. So many times what you need is a national grassroots operation, because sometimes changes come from bottom up. And too often we look from change to come from top down. But if you organize, the change can come from bottom up. So we've got to go and say, you know what, these are certain things that we need to do. This is how we need to do it. And if you can pass legislation that hold these folks, you know, financially liable, then you'll be surprised. And I said before, and I used the Ford Pinto. You remember the Ford Pinto, Joe? That's a car, huh?
I call you a judge, Taylor. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's that. The Ford Pinto was one of those big, you know, one of the biggest problems. But again, it took litigation to get rid of the Ford Pinto. It took litigation to make safer vehicles. If you notice now, everybody's making safer vehicles, you know, seat belts, airbags. Manufacturers didn't just put those things in because they wanted, because they wanted to spend more money and to save our lives. They put them in there because they were afraid of getting sued. So the question becomes, how do we really set something in motion so that they recognize our lives and start implementing safety mechanism moving forward?
But I'm going to say this, Attorney Hugh Campbell. I'm to the point that I said, if all we're doing is making noise that we're sick and tired of the killing, but nothing getting done, it's a waste of time that we're talking.
No, which is true.
It's a waste of time that we're talking, because if
But
we're not going to do it the right way, then standing on the corner and saying, put down the guns, and nothing happening, I think we're wasting our time.
But there comes a time when you have to go to your legislator and let them understand that you understand the issue, and this is what you're asking. Because when we go to them, basically we ask for things, but we don't ask for important stuff like, legislation of this nature. We don't ask for big legislation. We ask for a lot of bread and butter stuff, and I'm looking at life and death things.
That's right.
I'm saying, to me, gun violence is a matter of life and death.
As Cheryl said it. Cheryl said it. But okay, as Cheryl say, we have the NAACP, who don't stop full up my phone when it's time for voting. Can we hold them accountable for the action plan that you're talking about? And we don't need to tell them that, because we're sure they know it just like we do it.
But
so how come they ain't calling on us for that?
It's not a question of holding them accountable, but because I think this is a joint approach by everyone. They've got to get on board. Everybody else got to get on board and said, you know what? This is an epidemic. The same way they treat COVID-19, they need to get on board and treat gun violence like they treat COVID-19. We're going to lock the border down, Joe, and we're not going to permit those guns to get across the border. That's how they treat COVID-19. We have to take it serious, but we don't take gun violence serious. We talk about it. And you saw what happened when the people talk about COVID-19 and didn't take action. You saw what happened. And that's what we've been doing. We've been talking about gun violence all these years, and we haven't really taken action. And now it's basically multiplied in terms of death. So we've got to start reaching out to folks and say, let's figure out a way that we can address this issue on a national level, because the states can't do it one by one. It's got to be done on a national level. It's got to be a national movement where in every legislator, where the federal government got to come up and introduce legislation, and every legislator from the respective states got to be on board to support it, because the people in their states will say, no, this is a priority and you must vote on it in order to protect lives and the people in our society.
Cheryl DeWitt is asking the question I've been asking all night. We're talking, and we say grassroots plan. We're talking tonight. It started already. How do we put this in place? Okay? How do we put it in place? If you say we got to start somewhere and it got to be grassroots, you have the NAACP. They know the crimes that's going on just like we do. The legislature, everybody know these things. Where does it start? Why? What do they know that we don't know? Why they're not bothering with it?
No, I will. Let me just say this. Let me just say this, right? Again, the states where everybody have a gun don't have the kind of crime that we have. When a guy have a gun in, let's say, New York City, for example, he know when he pull that gun out, it's a very little chance that somebody around him have a gun, because it's so hard to get a gun in New York State. So when he pull that gun out, he feel power. He feel very powerful, right? In Texas, if you pull a gun out, about 6 people around, you're gonna have a gun.
Joe, I disagree with you, because and Exhibit A, you're telling me that young man that pulled that gun out on those officers didn't think all those officers had guns?
No, he coming.
Tells me they didn't think all those officers had guns? Yes, they did. He did. But you can't use that, because that's a clear indication that people don't care. They just pull it out and they got to use it. They had a whole bunch of officers around that young man. He still pulled that gun out and he still discharged that weapon with all those officers there. So it don't make a difference whether or not you think the person has a gun. If you are destined to use that gun. And I'm saying, don't get it in your hand to begin with.
Listen, that guy is white, there's a difference.
What?
He's white. It's a big difference.
Joe.
No. I'm talking about the one in the Bronx that they took on the stoop that shot the 2 officers 2 days.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you talking about the guy from.
No. I'm talking about the one in the Bronx I had when he was surrounded by officers. He didn't think twice about the fact that they had guns. He still pulled that gun out.
Yeah, but
because he had it. Because he had it.
No, he wanted to commit suicide.
No. It's not about committing suicide. Let's be real. They're officers. He knows they have guns.
Yes.
He took the chance of saying, I know I'm going down. So either they're going to take me down or I'm going to take them down. So that was his mindset because he has a gun and he know the officers have a gun. But when they pull up on somebody like me or Cheryl or Y Young or anybody out there, they don't know if we have a gun. So they pull it, not thinking that you have one.
Chances are you don't have one.
Right. Chances are. I saw a young man went into a barber shop and he went to shoot the gentleman in the seat. Right? When he walked in and pulled the trigger, he told the person who was getting the haircut, like, to move. The guy moved away, but he didn't know that the customer had a gun and the customer took him out. He underestimated the customer because he went after the barber. But when he shot the barber, the customer moved, pulled his gun, and took him out. And then the customer dragged him out right on the floor. What I'm saying to you, he underestimated who was in the barbershop because he felt so empowered. He has a gun. Mm-hmm. So you don't know who is carrying one today. Now, if that guy had left his gun at home, he would have been dead today too. So he saved other lives.
In New York State, they're telling you to leave your gun and just carry it certain places only. That's another thing.
You know something? I am just sick and tired of hearing people telling me about protests, demonstrate. Every year we have all these things we celebrate. Guns down, life up, all these things. What is it doing? It becomes a party. It becomes a party. The people comes out to celebrate. Are they reaching the young people's minds who they're trying to get to? Do they really get them at those functions? So I want to know who do the organizing, but the people who could really organize, their hands are tied. You understand? Politicians cannot do everything. And they have to get people behind them who can make it happen. Because some of the people that's saying they're leading is not doing nothing. And I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about some of these organizers. They ain't doing nothing but making noise. Because if you know so much, they will be doing exactly what you're talking about tonight. Start organizing. And it starts. How long are we going to say we're tired? How many parents going to cry for their children's life? Did you see where they went in, I think it's over in city, Trosneck area? They dress up like police officers, went in the house and robbed those people. This is what I'm talking about. So what happened then? You make an arrest and then you make us feel good by saying, and he was a career criminal. So what? He already committed a crime again. Why is an officer have to go back and arrest the same person over and over and they're put back on the street to kill again and rob again?
Second gun offense, give him 25 years.
You're trying to tell me that something is not wrong?
Well, but I think, Avril, I think it is, as I said, it's not one issue, it's multiple issues that we have multiple approach to. Because I don't know if you had a chance to watch the our district attorney on yesterday morning on Channel 7 on the Bill Ritter show, but she was on there and she basically was basically explaining her challenges with some of these gun violence in the community. And I think she kind of said that there's certain laws that needed to be changed in terms of, gun possession and whether or not a person, brandished a gun or whether or not they possess a gun. There's certain changes that need to be made to the law. But I think we have to take different approaches. We can't just say one approach because we know it's a problem. And unless we face the issue and take drastic measures, we'll never solve the problem. And as long as we're killing each other, folks from the outside are not going to solve the problem for us. So we've got to raise a lot of noise on the inside and said, you know what? Enough is enough. If we put you there, we want you to solve the problem. And, you know, we see them talking about build back better and all that stuff. All that stuff is great. But what we really need is a more stable and safe community. We need that also. To me, that's as important as, you know, everything that they have in that piece of legislation. Because if every day you look around, you know, your neighbor's kid is getting shot, or, you know, the person down the street kid is getting shot, that's
It's
not
more news. It's
something
news.
that's not
It
something
it
that's good.
seems like it's good because maybe it's news. Some people just like news.
Yeah,
I
but we
think it
gotta
keeps
make
them it keeps the media busy. But
yeah,
then when it's all over, we go back to crying again.
okay,
I'm just tired. I
but I'm
don't
saying
even think that you could catch me to enjoy anything for the rest of this year
we
because there's
have to
nothing for
treat
me to
this
enjoy. I'm
we
fed
have
up.
to treat this like the pandemic. We have to treat it like a pandemic and take drastic measures in order to get a solution to it. And I think that's one of the things that we as the grassroots folks got to push the envelope to get to that level.
And I like you say, we as the grassroots folks, and being that you're an attorney and you're the grassroots folks with us, where do we start after this show? Because we just can't keep talking.
No, but
Where
I
do we
think
write the first letter? We come up with it. We have people like Cheryl DeWitt and all these people in the community who is out here and is for the community. We have people who would stand up with us. Come on now, let's get it together. We have Senator Jamal Bailey who could sit down and listen to us. We have people who could listen. Where do we start the first letter and saying we're fed up? We can't do interviews and shows about we're fed up. Yes, we're fed up. But when are we going to say, let's start the movement? It
because
starts.
I think, Avril, what I had mentioned to you sometime is that we need to get into a room with a whole bunch of different types of people who think differently. Because if you get into a room with the same thinking people, you're never going to get a solution because everybody's going to think and about the same thing. Everybody's going to talk the same way. So what you got to do, you got to bring together a
Cheryl DeWitt
great segment of society.
and all these people. Jadera already said she's ready. We having a forum and we need people who's going to come on and we're going to speak to the officials. Let them hear our take. Let us do that. So Cheryl, get your pen and paper together and bring us those names of people who's going to sit here on this platform. We have our district attorney who is fed up. I know Senator Jamal Bailey lives in a community where he's fed up, and we have officials that are fed up. So tonight we say the next show on this is not the Avril show, Joe and attorney Hugh Campbell, is people like Cheryl DeWitt and Miss Taylor and all these people who already say, yes, we need to do that. Let's start the movement. And it start now, attorney Hugh Campbell. We want to hear from the people. You understand? We have Pastor Gooden and all these people in the 4-9 who are doing all these guns down and stop the violence. We need to hear. I want to hear what have they been doing and what are they really doing? Is it stopping any violence? Has the violence decreased since your last march, since your last protesting? This is what we need to talk about. So, Joe, bring your gun guys who have guns, legal guns, who's willing to sit in on this show and let the voice be heard. And we're coming. We have to talk. It's time for solution. We can't keep talking no more, protesting and demonstrating and walking in fear. We got to start something. What's the name of these people? Black Lives Matters. They go everywhere. They spread the words everywhere. So why is it nobody's going where they're supposed to go to say we're tired? These all these mothers who are crying, they lost their children. The fathers who are crying, they lost their children. And you trying to tell me that's all they're gonna do year after year, come together to cry because they're mourning the loss of their children? Enough is enough. I would not enjoy another party for 2021. I don't care what it is, because I don't even feel safe watching the news. I just need peace in my life right now, and to think, because the next election, moving forward, we are not just voting. We have to get radical with our votes and send a message that we are fed up. And that's our grassroots right there, our vote. Because if we're going to put people in office who just sit back and act like it don't matter to them, and they don't see our community falling apart, then I got to send a message to them why my silence is louder than my voice. Because I am sick and fed up of people talking the word community. Community what? Where are we going? Look back at where we was 4 years ago, 8 years ago. And no matter what we say, we build and we create. Let me tell you something. I can tell you what we build and create in this community. It sure haven't done anything for me. I have to do it for myself. So we have to take our streets back. Joe have a business, and whatever it take for him to get it, you have to take him harder to keep it. You have a business, attorney Hugh Campbell, right here in the Bronx. People would leave you in the Bronx and go in Manhattan to think they could get a lawyer, get a judge, get an attorney. And after they get messed up and screwed up, then they come back and tell you they get messed up and screwed up. Well, we got to stop the mess and the screwed up, and we got to situate our community from now. It starts now. So everybody that we vote and is in office, we have our elected Vanessa Gibson, who is going to be our next Bronx Board president. We have our Eric Adams, welcome on board. We have everybody who's fighting now to be something in a community, whether it's senator, council, or what. We don't need people to just be in a position. We need people who we can hold accountable, and people who's going to see who is the right people to take our community to the next level. If you can't fight, we'll fight with you, and we'll fight for you, but we're going to make it happen. Enough is enough. I'm tired of talking. I'm done. Black Lives Matter. I think that need to stop. Need to say our lives matter. Because when Black Lives Matters is protesting and rioting, I see the whites, the Spanish, the Italians, everybody fighting with us because they're fed up too. So it need to change to our lives matter, because everybody getting killed by guns. Well, so let's start.
I think, Avril, what you said is absolutely true. And that's why I said we got to take a broad-based approach, because, if you focus on one aspect, then something else pops up over here. But if you patch one side of the roof, then the other side probably gonna start leaking. But so you got to put on a brand new roof. So we've got to look at everything. If it means programs for the community, if it means schooling, if it means jobs for these youngsters, if it means mentoring, and these are some of the things that becomes very important. And this is another issue that we need to start doing, because I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, that we don't support our businesses in our communities. Because one of the things, and I am old enough to say that there was a time when I used to look around and a lot of people that own the businesses look like Joe and myself. We don't see that anymore. That is changing. When somebody would come in and said, you know what, I need for you to take my son in. I can tell you right now that I've actually met with people in my office on a Sunday when the lady calls me and said, you know what, I'm having a problem with my son, and I need for you to sit down and talk to him. And I said to her, I said, meet me there Sunday when nobody else is there and we can sit down and chat. But if you don't have business people in the community that can mentor some of these folks and talk to them and level with them and bring them in the office and then say, this is what you need to do, we're going to have a breakdown in society. And if everything we do is we create, like everything around us that doesn't look like us, it's not going to benefit the younger generation. So you can talk about the younger generation as much as you want. You can talk about everything that they can do, but you got to create a framework to bring them in so that they can go. Not everybody's going to get a college degree. You can be a barber and make money. You can be a auto mechanic and make money. You can be in construction and make money. But again, they need to speak to somebody who can put them on the right track and say, this is where we need to go. And this is what we as a community got to start talking about. Because you can talk as much as you want, but then you got to reach out to the people who are business people who have been there, people who have built businesses, people who have mentored people in the past. How did you do it? How can we do it moving forward? But if you're calling the folks around the table, and the people you're calling around the table are folks that are looking for help, then you're not helping the other folks that should be getting help. You need to call people who have the ability to help, who have been there, who can say, you know what, go over that person and get a an internship over here. Go over here and get a job over here. Go over here and get a job. That's what we really need to start doing in our community. But we're not doing that.
We need to take our community back. And instead of talking, we need an action plan. I'm tired. And I said, every time somebody gets shot, it's like it's like something to share on social media. Did you hear who gets shot again? Did you hear the next shooting again? It's become news and become headline, but there is no solution. So for me, I say enough is enough. And for me, I'm just sick and tired of hearing community and vote, and that's all we do: vote and protest. And as my friend just say, Black Lives Matters get silenced when we start killing each other. They ain't care about that. They ain't care about that. Do you hear Black Lives Matters on White Plains Road? Do you see them in our community? No, they ain't got time for that. They ain't get paid to come in our community to do what they come to do. But a person like me gonna sit here and do my show and try to find solution and all that. Who is giving me the support to do what I need to do? Man, I'm just tired of it. So for right now, I would say we're coming to the end of 2021, and we have to pay attention going into 2022. Are we going to continue the same conversation? Are we going to be back here 2022 if God save our life, talking the same topic and headline that we are sick and tired? When are we going to say that the change is now? Because we are seeing it happening. I'm not saying the politicians are not doing anything, but we are talking about our problems, our main problems in the community. Politicians can't do it all. They can't do it all, but help us to help them. They need to help us to help them. And I know, I'll tell you, I'm sick and tired that not even a Christmas party could make me enjoy myself that much for 2021. No, what I'm looking for is a change in my life, in my community. And in order for that to happen, I got to start working on it now. So we talked tonight, and we hope that eventually this show will reach someone. Because as some people will say to me, I didn't see it the night, but they see it the next day. It will get in the ears of somebody who need to listen. And we'll be back here. Yes, Cheryl do it. We're going to be talking. We're going to have the round table. Yadira says she's want to be a part of it. Yes, Daniel, we're going to do it. Our Black Lives Matter. That's our movement. So Attorney Hugh Campbell, you're out there, and the people needs to know, in order for things to get done, they got to support people like yourself. They got to support people like yourself. They cannot go around and go downtown, take the business out to the community, go downtown. Or maybe they're getting to know you more and more and more now that they're asking questions. You have even all the way in Long Island have need somebody need help, and they're saying, "Hey, I need to speak to Attorney Hugh Campbell." You understand? Because they realize you're one of us and they want to support their own. But you see some of us that calls me and say, yeah, I already spent this amount of money on attorney because they went elsewhere and get screwed up. We've been screwed up for too long. In order for us to take our community back, we have to support our community, the businesses and the people in our community. And it starts
True.
now. That's how we got to do it. If we don't support our businesses, our community falling apart. And then
Mhm.
when everybody say, I'm moving out to the Bronx because it's falling apart, we are part of that problem because we're not helping to keep it alive. So
Well, I think one of the things we should also keep in mind is that for folks who say they're moving out because it's falling apart, there are other people that's moving in. So, there are other people that's moving in. And if we don't stay awake, we will be surprised because stuff is happening in the Bronx like crazy. And we are the only ones that don't recognize what's going on. You see, and keep one thing in mind. Keep one thing in mind. If you basically go out there and make the neighborhood so unsafe that everybody moves out, then it only opens up for other folks to come in and buy up your neighborhood. And you're going to drive. And then at some point in time, you're going to say, how's it I can't drive through this neighborhood anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Because in essence, what you did was you basically gave open, you avoid. So what I'm saying to people is be very careful of how you tear down. If you tear it down, you're basically giving somebody else the opportunity to come in and fill that void and take everything that you built over the years. So don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. Because anybody said they're leaving the Bronx, I can tell you from where I sit, that's a bad move. Financially, because the real estate in the Bronx now is prime real estate. Prime real estate. Okay? Prime real estate. So anybody who owns real estate, and that's another topic for another day, anybody who owns real estate in the Bronx, hold on to your real estate.
Whoops. Okay. All right, we're coming back. We're coming back. We're coming back with that. Joe know all about it, and we're definitely going to come back with that. But we have to talk about the things that are breaking us apart.
But Avril, what that goes to, and I always said, that goes to Black wealth. You see, because we talk about Tulsa, we talk about all of that stuff, and I'm like, I always say to myself, we got wealth, but we give it away. And I say, how are you going to multiply your wealth if we constantly give it away? It's like there's a sieve, it's like it's going through, just falling because we're not preserving our wealth. So as I said before, wealth is in real estate. And for some reason, we missed that class. This generation, the old generation recognized that. This generation missed that class. And I would love to be able to get back on the show and to teach people about the wealth that you have and how these people are just giving it away and not even thinking twice.
Here you go.
Because that's part of the issue.
Sorry, I'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, these are the people that make it possible.
But I just wanted to add one thing, Avril. And one of the things that I've learned throughout my career as my different involvement with different organizations, and if you have money and you pick that phone up and you call somebody, they'll take your call. If you have no money, they're not going to take your call. So what I never understood is that why is it we are afraid of amassing wealth? And why is it we give our wealth away? Because if you have money, the people will take your call when you call. They will treat you differently when you call. But if you have no money at all, ain't nobody going to pay much attention to you. So what people need to understand is that if you have the ability to amass wealth, you amass that wealth and be proud of it, because that becomes political leverage. Okay? Political leverage.
You heard it right here on this show, and get ready because we're coming back with our forum. And if you want to be a part of this forum, feel free to reach out to me. We need to talk about solution, whether it's in politics, our community, but we're coming back right here on this show. So Cheryl, feel free to join us. And we don't want you could come on this show. You don't have to talk. Just be a part of the audience. And you want to be here, just let me know. But we're coming back to talk about our community, our votes, our leadership, and our communities that falling apart. There is so much to talk about. It starts now, not 2022, but now. And Joe, get some of your folks that says, they have the guns, they want their voice to be heard. This is the opportunity. We'll make sure that some of our leaders are here to sit with us and listen. And the guns buyback and the guns control and put down your guns. We'll get these people to come on board and be a part of this movement. Here are the people that make it possible for me to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We know it's getting late and we know it's at the top of the hour. Attorney Hugh Campbell, thank you so much for joining us and being part of the grassroots, even though you're attorney and they said in the courtroom you don't play. And we need attorneys in the courtroom who don't play because you're not in the courtroom to put on a show. You're in there to win your cases. We don't want losers in the courtroom. So if you're looking for an attorney to fight your battle, and as I said to you, this show is not about the advertisement. This show is about calling to get the help in the service you need. So if you don't know who's going to help you, you better call attorney Hugh Campbell. The number is on the screen and I'll be posting it again. Get in touch with him. If he can't do it, trust me, have the next man next to him who's going to do it. But start supporting your own businesses. And I remember, I'm not saying don't support no one else, but support your community. Keep your community alive. This is the Avril Show. We're coming back with part 2 of this, but this time it's going to be the community talk, not just Avril and Joe. Because Joe has to watch his games, and attorney Hugh Campbell will be up until 4 this morning doing his work. He's probably on a coffee break right now that he's here. So, attorney Campbell, thank you so much for being here.
All
Joe,
right.
thank you. And
Thank you.
Joe, you make sure that you get your friends who knows the ins and out of these laws and the guns, and let me hear their take on it, because you're the only man I hear in New York talking about gun control. I don't know why.
Mm, because the laws are stupid. That's all.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much for being a part of this program, and thank you for staying up with us. We thank you, and good night.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
All right.